I want to start running a mix up. No, you look a mix up and drama. I should pick out lash them to blood clad. I really need to pick up.
One shoulder move. Yes, people, welcome to the channel. Appreciate your time and most definitely thank you guys for joining us. Well, it's a big day in England, London. The Privy Councils are making their decision on Kartel's future. And the internet is ablaze, people. People are saying vacation tomorrow in Jamaica when Kartel get released. Yeah, them say the PR minister have to go free up the streets, partying all day, all night, because Kartel will get free. Well, people, you know me have the update and it's all out there. Kartel won't be released. Yeah. Sad to say, yeah, he won't be released. And in this video, we have, because me break it down for you guys. Instead of this long drawn out trial that, that they have, I gave you the prevalent parts, a synopsis of what's going on. Basically, what the prosecution came across, and delivered to the judge, and what he made his decision and toss it back to Jamaica. Yeah, people, a one shoulder move over here, a growing community. You like, share, and subscribe to our channel if it's the first time you see we. Yeah, if it's the first time we are book up on YouTube, hit the subscription button. So the next time we drop videos, you too will be notified and you won't be left out. And you could check the channel, a bag of things are going over here. So yeah, really and truly, personally, how me I look on this, me I say, why would not take away all the cartel money? Because he's been fighting this case for years, and in case you guys haven't realized, all them whole lie and trials cost a lot of money, and another Jamaican money. And even if a Jamaican money, we are talking millions. Yeah, whole heap of millions, people. So Cartel bank account and his earnings and his royalties are being drained daily. In case you guys don't know that, yeah. So this Privy Council and all these lawyers in fancy suits, they're costing money. So hopefully they don't drain him and him gonna have something left for take care of the family. Because if them don't let him out, he's gonna still need to survive. So them toss it back to Jamaica, basically. Them a make it, the politician them deal with it. Because them no want to touch it with a long pole. So to all me say, no progress no make. Yeah, no progress at all no make in this with Cartel. Wanna stop rob the man. That me say. So like we like to say over here, let's get on to the video.
I was just scrolling. One shoulder move.
And St. John said he left the premises just as Chow entered and he saw Palmer getting bitten by a dog. And that's 4390 to 4392. But the short point is that there was no denial, as far as one could take out, that they were there. And that is significant because the premises are then subsequently destroyed a few days later, or partly destroyed. And there's no explanation for this. Now, as to the exhibits, X14C, Exhibit 14C and JS2, their cases are simply this. The police have fabricated them. There's just a giant conspiracy to fabricate a whole mass of evidence. And there were challenges to the chain of integrity that went to that. That was it. But there was no explanation as to why the police should have done any of this at all. Now, my lords, bearing all that in mind, we say this was an overwhelming case where, for some reason, the only real question was, were the police in some way motivated, or did they fabricate all this evidence? That was it. That was the question for the jury. And my lords, my lady, I respectfully submit there was nothing to support that. Difficult to see, therefore, in those circumstances, why the alleged, or rather what you might call the bribery, would have made any difference to the consideration of their verdict. And I do submit the strength of the prosecution case in circumstances like this is a material factor. When one was asking, the question is there a risk, a real risk, that the verdict was influenced by prejudice? And I say, no, there's no real risk of that. My lords, my ladies, as far as the jury retirement point is concerned, That's what we say. So we say there was a fair trial. And the fundamental point is you can be satisfied that that 10-1 verdict was a verdict given by the jurors, or the 10, in accordance with their oath, uninfluenced by bias or prejudice. And if that's right, I submit the appeal must be dismissed. The next question I can deal with very briefly is the jury retirement point. My lords, my lady, I submit the following very short points. At the time, that's in 2011, there was no established practice written in a bench book or anything like that. The matter was left to the judge's judgment as to when to send the jury out. Second, I am informed by the Director of Public Prosecutions, who was here, who will provide more detail on the point. In real life, juries never take more than about a couple of hours or so to come up with their verdicts, even after long trials. And it is unheard of for them ever to have to be sequestered in a hotel room overnight. It just doesn't happen. Thirdly, there was, in my submission, no pressure applied by the judge in his directions. This is not a case where there was something the judge said at some point which suggested to the jury, you better get on with it. Far from it. There's at no point anything which the judge says to the effect, I do want you to come back in an hour or so, or please make your minds up, you know, and so forth. So, nothing at all. No criticism of what the judge actually says. And finally, and I submit importantly, the Court of Appeal, who know all about this, how the system works, saw nothing wrong in what had happened. And if I can give you the reference, it's E5854, paragraphs 203 to 205, where they describe, where they go through some of the cases about sending juries out in different jurisdictions, and then again at 209, where they come up with 5854, paragraphs 203 to 205, where they discuss the background and various other cases, and 209. And they discuss one or two Privy Council cases where juries have been sent out actually rather later, but although the Privy Council has disapproved of that, nonetheless the convictions were upheld. But in my submission, the Court of Appeal was perfectly entitled to come up with the conclusion they did. No error of law has been identified in anything the Court of Appeal said, and I submit that's not right. It's not the law's place to interfere with the Court of Appeal's judgment on these matters. Very briefly, the proviso, in one sense, my point on the proviso is this. Even if, let us say, the judge's directions after the jury incident were not as strong as they could have been or should have been, or even if the retirement was too late in the day, there is still no reason to suspect that the jury was infected by bias or the risk of bias, given all the matters I have said. That being so, even if there was some irregularity or some imperfection in the way the trial was conducted, this is a case where there has been no, to use the words of the statute, no substantial miscarriage of justice. I should emphasize that I accept that if there was a risk of bias, a real risk of bias in the verdict, that would mean the trial was unfair, and that would also mean that you couldn't apply the proviso. An unfair trial is written water. But if the trial was fair, in my submission, you applied the proviso.
Counsel's decision in the Vybz Kartel case. So this is what we know so far from his attorney, Isaac Buchanan, who was in the courtroom in London when the decision was read. I just spoke with him. Attorney Buchanan says this is a victory for Kartel and his 3 co-defendants because the convictions were quashed. But this does not mean that they will all go free right away. That's because the Privy Council referred the case back to the Jamaican Appeals Court. I asked him, does this mean Kartel and the co-defendants will be released pending the Jamaican court's decision about a retrial? And he says they will remain behind bars at least until a new hearing date is set and an application made. I expect to be talking with Mr. Buchanan again this afternoon. We'll get more details about this and how this is all going to play out. But he says the decision does not involve the release of Kartel and the 3 other men at this particular time. That's the latest from here in the Fox 5 newsroom in New York, and we'll have much more for you as the day goes on.